Actually started as a motocrosser. Also driving that car is Aguri Suzuki, who of course had a lot of Grand Prix experience. Actually, I believe has a French grandmother, so there's a little bit of European in him. And then Masahiko Kageyama, he's also in that car. He's another of these very talented Japanese drivers that races in Formula Nippon. He's already had a victory this year.
And you can see they had the fueling done. They were going after some tires. There's a look now at the leader. By the way, we want to let you know the team Nissan number 31, currently in 13th spot, did a pit stop about a lap or so back. So they are staying with their program as well. But again, a remarkable development really with this lead Toyota. There's the number 32 entry making its way back out. After all the problems that the team cars have developed, this one is just running like clockwork.
Yeah, that sports prototype battle continues, you know. That Cougar has got back in front of the two factory Porsches. Everything's seesawing around amazingly.
Working that car, working through Tertre and now onto the Le Mans Mulsanne Straight, of course, now broken up into 3 segments, but one tends to forget that they are still long segments, and we're 7 hours into the 24 hours of Le Mans here, and you can see that car all by itself at this stage, some 23.5 seconds out in front of the second place number 25 Porsche, which remarkably now has only about 20 seconds on the team car, so that battle for second between the teammates is closing up. And with the 2 Yost cars having their pit stops, the number 30 Nissan has now rejoined the top 5 easily into 4th, and the 13 Courage Nissan runs in 5th. So the battle is close, and again, we're not seeing a whole lot of difference between these lead cars.
What do you guys think of this car? I mean, just in terms of its looks and appearance on the road.
Looks like a Group C car to me.
It does. It looks like a car from a couple of years ago, but they say it does not have anything like the extreme downforce, that this whole body was designed for low drag only, and it only has a few hundred pounds of downforce. It doesn't look like that, doesn't handle like that, but I believe him.
Well, and it certainly looks incredibly slippery. I mean, watching that shot from the back, you could just see how the air would just easily close up behind it and keep the speed up. There is our camera car, one of our camera cars, currently running 12th, the number 5 Ferrari, heading down into pit lane for a stop.
Yeah, that's the car which had the problem earlier on when Sospiri was driving with the front upright. They had to change the wheel bearings. It put the BMWs out. But Calvin is down there to find out exactly what is happening with that Sospiri Ferrari.
Well, Jean-Christophe Bouillon's behind the wheel right now. He's needing some mirror adjustments. Obviously having trouble seeing traffic out there. Some of the faster GT cars may be coming up on him. Seemed quite animated when he got into the pit lane here. He certainly needed a refreshment, a slight drink, and these mirrors are loose, obviously, and they're moving as he's going, and they try to tighten them up. Not sure how long that's going to last, and momentarily delayed coming out. Nearly runs into a Porsche 911 as he heads down pit lane.
Yeah, Jean-Christophe, of course, for a couple of years was the test driver for Williams. Frank Williams said on a single particular lap, he's just one of the fastest guys. And there's a car which has missed its bit, the number 64 car. That's actually leading GT2 right now, but this is the problem. He'll probably have to go around again.
Well, as we saw the other car pulling out of the pits, we saw the one member dressed in black running out and waving frantically at the number 64 Rook Racing International machine, and there was no way he could stop, blew right on by.
Rook Racing rarely makes a mistake like that. It was obviously, it must have been an unplanned stop or they'd be out there, but it hands the lead probably right back to the Viper, and this battle has been seesawing. This is a major development in the GT2 class.
And they are pushing the car back. I would suspect they'd be loath to try and drive around for another lap, because if they were near on fuel, you can't run out, and it is, after all, 8 miles.
Yeah, plus this is a much better solution to the problem. I didn't realize it was legal to push it back, but I guess under certain circumstances. I once came into the pits in the middle of the night. I won't say what team I was driving for, because someone had blown up their engine right in front of me. My windshield was covered with oil. There was nobody there. I had to get out of the car and clean it myself.
Let's check in with Calvin, who's down at the Rook Racing pit.
Well, Michel Legionnaire certainly missed the pits there. A big mishap here in the pit lane. I'm not sure if that's legal either, guys, but certainly the crew went to work, got him back in. Maybe if he's actually in pit lane, they can push him back to his pit stall, unlike the Schneider incident earlier in the day. But team goes to work. You see the refueling on the 911 is actually in the hood. That's where the fuel cell is. is on this car. Obviously, it's a rear-engine car or mid-engine car. It's in the back end there, and they go to work. He's obviously quite hot. He needed a drink, needed some refreshment. The crew is waiting. Now they're going to go to work. It looks like they're just going to clean the windshield. It does not look like they're going to like they're going to change the tires even. And there's a pretty soapy liquid there. I'm not sure they're going to wipe that off once he's done, but it's taken quite a while to get this done. Meanwhile, one of the team members is inside the cockpit. There's obviously a problem inside there somewhere. It may be with his drinks too. He looked awfully hot when he came in here. And this is how mistakes happen. The drivers get hot, they get dehydrated, comes into the pits. Certainly a little frustrated right now, but he's out of here.
Yeah, Ligonet actually used to race under a pseudonym of Michel Ramirez. I don't actually know why.
Got the field summary we're going to take a look at right now. Of course, it is led overall by the number 29 Toyota. It's the Michelin field summary we're happy to bring you. The leader in the prototype division, once again, is the number 13 Courage Nissan. However, there is all of 2 seconds separating it from second place, and that is the number 8 Yost Run Porsche. And in the GT2 division, as a result of that Rook Racing problem, this car, we believe, the number 53 Viper Team Orica, essentially the factory Viper team, it will reassume the lead, and this is the car that is being driven by Bell, Donohue, and Drudy. We were talking earlier about a strong run for the Momo team. Calvin, you got some information on that program.
Yes, I have. They certainly, this is unscheduled. They were only in here about 10 minutes ago, and obviously it looked routine at that stage, but now he's back in. They're going to the front end. They have not put fuel in. Kevin Durant is on the radio to Mauro Baldi, and they're obviously looking at some problems in the right front corner. Maybe it's another wheel bearing problem. We've seen that happen a lot today with various cars in different categories. And Kevin Durant has put a halt to the proceedings. They need to do some work. I'm going to nip around the other side here, see if I can see what the problem is. And actually, these must have run over something. The under tray on the car is damaged right now. Maybe he ran over some debris out on the track or actually had an off, but there's severe damage there, and they need to fix that. When you have this sort of problem with a car, it creates severe instability in the car at high speed, up over 200 miles an hour here, obviously, down towards 210 into that first chicane. And the car is going to go up on the stands. They've got to do some work on repair this. Costly mistake, obviously. I'm not sure if it was driver error or maybe he just ran over some debris. Hopefully they can get it fixed quickly.
And Calvin, you're aware, you've spent some time calling pit stops that have involved this car. Kevin Durant, one of the best in the business, but when he says stop, the crew stops. He really has that program under control, doesn't he?
He really does, and I'm not sure if there's actually a piece off their car or someone else's, but they're torn it out now, and I'm not sure if that's an addition. I mean, these guys have been trying to reduce the downforce in this Ferrari. Maybe that was an add-on piece. It was certainly not part of the carbon fiber underside of the body. I'm not sure if it came off another car or whether it's something that had been tacked on and come loose on this one. If it was, the fact that they've taken off one side and not the other may create some handling problems. Meanwhile, there seems to be a problem out on the course, guys.
A big problem. The number 7 Yost Run factory Porsche Le Mans prototype has come to a stop on the track. The yellow flags were flying. The car has pulled well off the track and is now being chatted up, I guess, by the marshals at this stage. A huge development. The first chink we've seen in the Porsche program.
In the Porsche parade, and remember, we saw this car earlier have a problem going into Tertre Rouge. We may get another look as it slows down on the right side of the track there, down the long Mulsanne straight. There's the problem as it leaves Tertre Rouge just a few moments earlier. And now it's got apparently a very serious problem.
Yeah, I think
the number 7 car.
Yeah, Yannick Dalmas is at the wheel at the moment, I believe.
He's sharing it with Michele Alboreto and Stefan Johansson. So this is one of the top machines in the race.
Getting a look, gentlemen, in the Porsche pit, and they, of course, have the monitor up there for the world feed, and they were watching that with great interest. And clearly, you could see that Dalmas was chatting on the radio intently with the Porsche crew. Meanwhile, well, we're back with it. The 27 Toyota has exited again. Let's check in with Davey. Big development, Davey.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of interest all of a sudden down here in the number 7 Yost. Obviously, Michele Alboreto had a little bit of an off, which got everybody really concerned. They brought out a set of tires immediately. They brought the spare nose out. They grabbed Stefan Johansson to come a few laps early, got his driver helmet on, and he was ready to go. But Michele didn't come in. He still had another 3 laps to go, and they were expecting him to come in any time. But apparently he was going to finish that run out. Now another problem is developed, and you know, the crew is they're just looking around. They don't really know what to do just at this point. They're on the radios. They're talking to Jochen as much as possible, but you know, maybe I'll know a little bit more in a few minutes.
Again, the Porsche crew intently watching the developments, hoping to see a shot perhaps of their car, see if there's been any change in the situation, hoping for the positive, but perhaps expecting the negative. We'll be back at Le Mans. 7 hours and 15 minutes into this storied event, and the number 29 Toyota on your screen continues to lead. And leads relatively comfortably at this point. We saw the number 7 Porsche before we went to break, and Davy Jones has an update.
Well, they're still frantically trying to decide what to do. I mean, in the meantime, the crew is taking the tires, the nose that they had on the pit lane, and they're putting it all back in the garage. But apparently it's an electrical problem, and they're trying to talk to Jochen Damas now to see if if there's something that he might be able to do. But you know, electrical problems have been a few troubles for a few cars. We saw there's a Viper earlier that had a dead battery and couldn't get back to the pit lane, and here Jochen Damas is somewhere out on the Le Mans back straightaway, and I don't think he has a spare battery with him as well. So the crew is talking back and forth on the radio, and if I can get in to have a word with him in a few minutes, I will.
All right, Davey, it seems with the worst thing you can hear as a team member is electrical problem, because you just don't know. There's nothing concrete.
Yeah, in the middle of your screen there, Norbert Singer, who's in charge of the engineering side of Porsche. Hubert Ampere, of course, the team manager, but that is the guy that's been involved in Porsche for many years at Le Mans, and he really is an expert, but he looks very concerned there.
Well, as we said, they had such an impressive run, all 4 of their cars up in the top 5, and then suddenly this development, certainly it came later than the problems for some of the other cars, notably perhaps the 28 and 27 Toyotas, as we watch the lead car, the 29 Toyota, starting to run down one of the Panos cars. But nonetheless, when things are going well, all 4 of your cars are running in lockstep, so to speak. You're pretty comfortable with it. Then that one problem crops up, and I would think the nerves start to fray a little bit. There's one of the Courage is the leading Le Mans prototype Courage down in the pits, currently in 6th spot right now, and they're getting some attention. But we go back and watch, there is the number 45 Panos, which has got a good run up into the top 10, but it has got another lap down to the race-leading overall Toyota.
It's still running, as you say, though, 10th, which is, I think, a marvelous performance for the Panos. They've gotten a lot further into the race this year than last. They are developing steadily, and I think they're going to start to enjoy the fruits of their labor very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were a factor overall next year.
Look at this. The work feed is showing us the pass to go by to lap the car. They were coming up in that slow GT2 car, and that leading Toyota dropping 2 wheels in the grass.
Oh, wow. Now, that could have been such a big accident.
Tremendous accident and a tremendously gutsy move in that car. The lead car, the only one of the Toyotas really in competition. The Panos, I think he was surprised by it. You see him suddenly dart to the left. I don't think he really expected that to happen. Who would?
Sam, do you think that might damage the tyres? You get obviously grit and grass and all sorts on the tyres. You'll have to be very careful now.
I think he will, but I just have a hunch he'll get away with it. They keep the condition of the track so clean, and unless remember, it is only 7 hours into the race. That would be an unusual place for anyone else to have gone off. Be a different story later on.
Watching now, we just saw some shots of the 2nd place, number 25 Porsche. There it is, and it too is having a very problem-free run at this stage. Closing up, that's one of the Nissans there as well. And a good solid run here. This is, I'm sorry, that is the 26 machine, currently in 3rd, and yet only 20 seconds less than that, actually. 18 seconds behind the 2nd place car. So both of the Porsche GT1s, even with the problems in the Le Mans prototype, are running very, very strong.
The number 51 Orica Viper is in the pits. Pedro Lamy behind the wheel. It seems like they fixed the exhaust problem. This is a routine pit stop, putting the fuel in right now, and they're just checking over the tires. I don't think there's going to be a tire change. They obviously try and stretch these runs on tires as far as they can. Typically 2 stints is about all you can go with the GT2 cars, whereas the prototype cars can sometimes go up to 4 stints because they have a wider tire. This track is not very abrasive, and that allows them to stretch it out.
Yeah, of course, that's the car that Tommy Archer's driving. We haven't spoken to Tommy yet, Calvin. Maybe a bit later you can seek him out. He may, of course, be back in the paddock now, resting in one of the many caravans or some of the fantastic demountable buildings they put here. Just Toyota and Porsche have built a small village, and each team, each driver has his own porter cabin with a shower in it. It's just an amazing sight to see.
The one by Toyota in particular is phenomenal. They've got stacked buildings. It looks like a hotel, and it was referred to at one point as, we've had a lot of team transporters in here before. He said this is the first time we've had 5-star accommodations, though. That's a very nice stuff. Look at the onboard. Gives you an idea that we are indeed approaching darkness. This is from our number 5, our favorite onboard, no question. That is the Ferrari, and working through the Porsche curves. And it's fast, but it is busy there.
Yeah, it certainly is. But, you know, you speak of the few moments you get to rest between stints. There's a word they use over here a lot, physio, you know, and you get to take the physio, which is a massage, and you get your nutrition just right and everything, and it makes an incredible difference. I mean, you're not expected to be tired at the end of this race.
Sam, some of the drivers sleep in their between stints and others don't. How are you?
It's dependent on the race, frankly. I always tried to sleep. Sometimes I just couldn't. As I grew older and had a little more experience, I was able to get a little more sleep. In the first few years, just too excited.
We're going to lay out and let you enjoy this ride, but keep your eye on one thing before we do. When you see the underside of that wing light up, that's the exhaust gas, the unburned exhaust gas that lights up as the cars lift off, these Ferraris in particular. Enjoy this ride for a little bit. There it is. There's the flash. Watch it.
Telegraph poles. There's some great shots. Of course, as the night starts to fall, you get these stunning shots of the disc brakes glowing bright red. The best place for that is definitely the end of the Mulsanne Straight. I'm sure we'll see some shots of that in a few moments' time, but really, now the night falls, all the colour and these cherry red brakes, they glow and the flames come out of the back, and it's just so emotive.
Looking at that sky, that's one of those skies where you say, boy, I wish I had a camera. Well, we've got about the best camera you could get at this time of day at this wonderful racetrack. And again, on board all the way down. You've enjoyed the ride down Le Mans Mulsanne at this stage. Boy, the flash of that exhaust burning up underneath that wing is stunning.
It's fabulous. Now, of course, by looking out back of the car, we don't see what the driver sees, which are the reflective elements on the guardrails.
Just overtook some of them.
That's great, isn't it? Easily, too.
Without a light, no headlights on that car.
It was a Viper. But you see these little reflectors on the guardrails, white on one side, red on the other, and it's like you're playing a video game out there because it's so abstract at night.
Through the Mulsanne hairpin. Now, Sam, down through that launch, and we've talked about this before, from Mulsanne down to Indianapolis, this is an incredibly quick piece of track, especially that right-hander that Bill Oberlin said was so much fun. I would imagine in the dark that gets a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, it does. There's an optical illusion coming into that unnamed right-hander, which is the way the track dips between two apexes. You're really convinced at first that you're much closer to it than you are. So the next step is to become a whole lot braver and go in too deep, and then you're in all sorts of trouble and you have difficulty getting through the Indianapolis curve. Here we are coming into Arnage. We'll see a couple of flashes. There's the turn at Arnage. Now such light as there is in the sky is off to the right as we look at that shot.
Just checking the monitors again, the leading trio of cars, the Toyota, the 29 car and the two Porsches, have now put 2 laps between them and the rest of the field, led currently by the number 30 car, although it's just in the pits right now, making a very quick pit stop, the number 30 Nissan.
There's that enormous inflatable figure sponsored by Michelin. It's eerie to see it drift by at 130 miles an hour.
It's a massive Mr. Bibendum, that's what it's called.
Almost looks cloud-like, through this perspective.
Is it from Strasbourg?
No, it isn't. You know, they make little plastic ones that lorry drivers sometimes mount, or truck drivers mount on their cabs. I've actually got one at home, made a nice light, actually.
Right now, the car working through the Ford chicane, which means they'll be coming up on the pit straight, has just done so. Launching down to start another lap as darkness falls. We'll be back at Le Mans. Welcome back to Le Mans. The number 28 Toyota has had an eventful day, no question. Currently in the 18th position and 10 laps. That's been a fairly consistent number for a while. That car, quick pit stop, one of the better stops, is making its way back out. And Davey right now is standing by in the pits with a gentleman who I would suspect is rather bitterly disappointed. Davey?
Yeah, I'm here in the Yost pit with Jochen Damas, and Jochen, what a disappointment. I mean, Michele was doing a good job. Stefan was getting ready to get in the car. I suppose you're back to having a bit of a nap.
Yes, the last information was electronic problem, and the car doesn't restart, you know. But anyway, we don't know exactly the problem, but Michele stopped the car in the track.
Do you think you can get the car back into the race?
I don't think so. The car stopped in a track will be, I think, not possible to keep the car and check the car and to restart. I don't know. We lose, I think, two minutes time.
It's a little bit too early to tell, but you know, obviously for the Yost number 7 to do the hat trick here is going to be very difficult.
Yes, but you know, the race, it's 24 hours. We started not very good. The car in the beginning, we had some problems with turbo pressure on the left side. We make something in the car. The car was a little bit better, and we keep the five position. Okay, two laps behind the leader, but the race is 24 hours. Will be possible to bring the night in the morning. Will be possible, but anyway, now it's finished, I think.
Well, thanks so much, Jochen, and hopefully it's okay going. Good. Now I understand Calvin is up there with Martin Brundle, our race leader.
Martin, obviously a problem when Eric was driving earlier this evening or early in the afternoon. It looked like he had an upright problem and it caused him to spin. Took a while to fix it. How's the car now?
Car's great, yeah. I think it was a wheel bearing. I don't really understand that because we've not had a problem with wheel bearings at all. He lost the front brakes because of the knockoff on the brake pads. Car's great. No problem at all. Running beautifully.
Feels the same as it did in the first hour or so?
Yeah, I was even quicker, I think, in that stint.
Obviously, you've now got a push. I think you're like 9-10 laps behind. I mean, what do you do in that situation? Have you been here before in that situation, Martin?
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's nearly impossible. You're over half an hour behind. You just got to go and enjoy yourself and push like hell and give the crowd something to watch. You never know. I mean, I probably need it to rain like hell now.
Obviously, you're only doing a one-off this year. How does it feel when you hit problems? Obviously, the start of the race was very exciting, leading it the first hour or so, then to hit problems. Mentally, how do you feel right now about that?
Because enjoying myself, taking the lead exactly a year ago. And it was great. You just felt like the old days and I felt so relaxed. Now I feel very frustrated because we've done a lot of work. It's clearly a very fast car, and at the moment, one problem to put us behind, but there's a long time to go yet.
Okay, well, I'm sure you'll be out there and giving it some more.
Thanks.
You know, he had talked about how good the car felt, and remember, not too long ago, that car set the quicker laps of anybody running at this stage of the race, and that margin from the overall leader of that car has remained absolutely steady at 10 laps. He knows it's quick. He's frustrated. What a pretty shot. Welcome back, and you are enjoying some tremendous images here. Cars knifing through the quickly appearing darkness here. That is the number 12 Ferrari of Wayne Taylor and Eric Van der Poel and Fermin Velez, and the car chasing it is the second place overall Porsche GT1 machine that is having a very strong race. Fourth place, the number 8 Yost Porsche, one of the factory efforts, but run by the Reinhold Yost team, and David Murray, who has been really a very solid surprise in the early going in this car, is on board. Davey?
Yes, you're right, Greg. David Murray did get in the car. He took over from Raphael. This car has just been there. It's been very consistent, very reliable. It's having a routine pit stop now. I believe it's up in 7th place. Actually, I'm not sure in class, but the other Yost Porsche is sitting out on the straightaway. They're still trying to figure out if they can get that back in. But Yost still has a strong car and a sister car ready to go. They stalled the engine, but fired right back up, and out he goes.
He has indeed rejoined the track, and they're being very gentle getting these cars in and out of the pits, obviously. You don't want to light it up and put too much strain on the drivetrain, and they're sometimes killing it as a result. But he is out, and David Murray, as we said, was pretty effective in one of his earlier stints, setting the quickest lap that car had seen, hauling it up into the top 10 and near the top 5, and it has progressed since then. There are the couple of the team drivers.
That's Rafanel there, has just got out of the car, and Stefan Johansson also in the picture.
We go back to these images as we're watching the Ferrari, again, still being hounded by the number 25 Porsche, and the car has not been able to get by. And our overall race leader, the number 29 Toyota, making its way down pit lane and heading right toward Calvin Fish.
Ralph Kellners brings the number 29 machine into the marks. The engine goes off. The team goes to work right now. They're actually refueling, and there's a technician here on the side, obviously an outside assist that they're allowed. They're also allowed one person, other than the 4 mechanics on the car, to assist with the driver change. What he can do at this stage is basically change the drinks bottle, what they're doing. Looks like Ralph is certainly going to stay in the car. I don't see any indication of a tire change at this point, and they're probably going to just give it a quick squirt of spray on the windshield, clean it up, send him on his way. Obviously a very difficult time of the day as the sun starts to set for these drivers. They certainly need a good clean shield to see out of. That's what they're doing. They're going to get ready to fire it back up. Looks like a routine stop.
Watching the number 29 machine head out on track, and we've been talking about the mirror that has been following that car around. The number 25 Porsche is in the pits as well. There it is. And well, I'll tell you, that number 29 Toyota pits, the Porsche pits, and Davey is there.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of action happening down here in the Porsche pits. This seems to be a routine stop. The fuel's going in. They are not changing tires. They're keeping the same tires on. And Elzin is staying in the car. Now they're just they're firing it up, and out they go.
Yeah, I think that was a slightly quicker pit stop. 49 seconds the gap when they came in, and it'll be interesting to see next time round whether any space was made up there. But 2 absolutely perfect pit stops, didn't need to change tyres, and now you see this Mobil 1 back car coming back onto the racetrack.
They've used that strategy to perfection a couple of times already to make up a lot of ground on that lead car, and they continue to just play the mirror. There he is, giving us a salute. Welcome to Le Mans. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This happened just moments ago. It was the chicane that leads into the Dunlop Bridge area. A little bit too hot. We thought cold tires, but remember, they didn't change tires. He just got it all wrong, and he got very lucky as he skipped over the gravel, Sam.
Olsen there, and he gets around behind onto this little road here. He thought very, very quickly, almost like a Michael Schumacher, and nursed it back around and back onto the track. I suspect no damage has been done. The car, as you can see it right here, looks terrific. I think he probably got away with that, but boy, it was close.
And in fairly short order, after the problems the number 7 car had, that was another, I would think, heart-stopping moment for all the crew watching the monitors, seeing that car skipping across the gravel. You're right, I think he did get away with it.
Well, we talk about superstitions, but sometimes things do come in bunches. They did earlier for the Toyota team, ran so successfully, and then suddenly, bing, 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 they had 3 problems in about 20 minutes. So sometimes when you start to see problems occur, it can really run right through the team in a hurry.
Yeah, Louis Alton has never done this race before, but because he had a great run at Daytona this year, if you remember, Sam, he actually won the GT1 category in one of the Raw team cars, and I think was 2nd overall, I think.
Well, you know, this is a time of day, you guys, when it really is tough to drive this track because every lap brings dramatically changing light conditions, and you have to really have your wits about you because the rhythm, you see the Viper there stopping at the pits, the rhythm of whatever you've been doing is completely altered by the optical effects. I mean, if it was a track that was slower or easier to see, it would be different. There's a conference in the Porsche area there, but it isn't. It's a track full of optical illusions of one kind or another. When the light begins to go and your own artificial light begins to come up, and the light inside the car, remember, sometimes very bright from the dashboard, becomes a factor. It's very easy to have your concentration rattle.
Well, as you lose harsh being a relative term, but the direct sunlight, if you will,
yes,
on the track, you start to lose definition in everything. And that is that the 51 car, which was 3rd in class? Calvin's there.
Seems like there's a gearbox problem. Pedro Lamy behind the wheel still, and they brought it in. They topped it up with fuel. They now brought it into the garage. There's definitely a gearbox problem. I think they're running in the top 3 in the GT2 category, and meanwhile their sister car, the number 51 car with Justin Bell, Tommy Archer, and David Donohue, currently lead that class in a battle with another Porsche 911. This 51 car seems to be having all the problems here. We obviously lost the other Viper early in the going there at the beginning of pit lane, but Lamy has had problems. They had an exhaust problem, and now it's a gearbox problem. This could take some time, guys.
Seem to remember them having gearbox problems last year. It's Pedro Lamy at the wheel at the moment, still sitting there. And, well, it's very interesting. They might have to rely on the private Chamberlain cars yet.
They're still right there, no question. 55 currently running in the 26th spot. 4th in class, would presumably move to 3rd in fairly quick order here if the stop for the number 51 entry remains a rather longish stop, which it certainly appears it will. Great shot. The lone car making its way around this phenomenal track. That is the Porsche heading into the first of the Mulsanne curves.
Yeah, and that lead now after that excursion by Uwe Altzen has extended to 63 seconds between the number 29 car, the Toyota, and the best of the Porsches. And in fact, the 2 Porsches, the 25 and 26 cars, you might just see it on our screen soon. They're running just 9 seconds apart now.
At this point, Uwe is going to have to pick the pace up just a little bit as well. After we rejoined you here, of course, if you didn't tune in a little earlier, a lot happened in this event. A lot of developments, if you will. Let's take a look at some of them. This was the actual start of the race. A big moment was that the BMW, the Fina car, moved up nicely from 6th to 3rd. But watch what happens into the chicane here. They were serious going into this corner.
The Mercedes and the Toyota fighting it out. Mercedes appearing to take the lead there, but the Toyota fought back almost immediately in the hands of Martin Brundle and took the lead.
And Andrew, that was the team, the BMW, that you thought was in with a real chance, but contact not only affecting the Courage, but affecting the BMW. We'll see that in just a moment. You saw a little bit of smoke out of the Toyota, and then this, Schneider out.
Out, yes, was that big problem with the engine, and then, of course, lots of problems for various people with tyres. They were coming off, and then the other BMW there, that also having this problem with the front uprights. Actually, the bearings apparently breaking up.
And that car was... Welcome back, everybody. We had a momentary little transmission problem there. We hope you forgive us. We are back live at this stage. And take a look. I want to point out the color of the headlights. This is a GT2 car. They have to run an amber lens in any of their forward-facing lights, and it is so that the pursuing, or the GT1 cars in front will recognize what they are coming up behind them, and it's to simply differentiate the different classes that have such significantly different speeds. Very interesting. And Calvin is standing by with Wayne Taylor.
Wayne, you just jumped out of the car, turned it over to Eric once again. How's the car feeling tonight?
Oh, so nice. I mean, it's just wonderful. I was having such a good time. It's like a different motor car. I mean, it was just really, really great. It's just unfortunate that we had all those silly problems in the beginning, but it's running perfectly.
Got to be great running around this place with a car that's really working now.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Okay, mate. Have fun.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, currently in 16th place, that car. But Wayne, what a happy man. He's really enjoying himself. Great to see that.
He couldn't have wiped a smile off his face there if he wanted to. I mean, he is absolutely lit. There is our 11th place machine, the number 5 Ferrari, the one that was providing those beautiful shots on the camera that looks out underneath that wing. And they are in, going after fuel right now, and then looks like they're going to at least take a serious look at tires.
Yeah, that's Bouillon at the wheel there, and you know, he's a seriously fast young man, and I think we see some quick laps from him now, just about to accelerate out of the pits. There he goes, that great big wing on the back.
We're going to take a look. Look at that is what the actual light is. Now, of course, that's a camera with a fairly small lens on it, but nonetheless, some of the images we're seeing from the world feed, they've opened up the irises on those cameras to let in a little bit more light than perhaps exists, but that's what it's close to what it looks like in certain areas of the track. That's the car we're watching now, currently second in the GT2 division, which handily leads us into our Michelin field summary at this point. And basically, the number 29 Toyota continues to run very strongly over the number 25 and 26 Porsches. And as you pointed out, Andrew, they've opened up a fairly significant gap over everybody behind them at this point.
Yeah, it's 2 seconds, it's 2 laps now. And that number 13 Courage, it's still in there in the top 5, you know, it's having a very good run. It's back in front of the number 8 Porsche now, so that's one to watch. And also the number 32 car, the Nissan, driven by the 3 Japanese drivers, that's in 7th place, ahead of the number 33 Nissan, which has Kuwasara, Motoyama and Kageyama in it. So Japanese drivers to the fore.
And of course, Japanese cars are running first, 4th, well, if you count the Nissan engine in the Courage, 5th, 6th, and the German cars are filled in between. So it's a fantastic battle, really, around the world.
Problem here for the Riley and Scott, they've pushed it back into the garage there, and that's the car that the motorcycle racers have been driving, along with Philip Gash. Wayne Gardner, who's done a lot of racing out in Australia in cars since he gave up his motorcycle career. And he had to bring money to that team, incidentally, to get into there. And actually, you see some of the signage on the car. He's raced mainly touring cars, but he's really enjoying this. He's had a couple of spins, both at the same place, one in qualifying and one earlier in the afternoon. But great to see Wayne here. You know, he's a very big star in motorcycle racing. And I think he hopes for a big future. He thinks by bringing money to this team and showing what he can do, that maybe he can then get into something like a Toyota in the future.
And he's teamed with one of the drivers in that car is a gentleman I believe that he spent some time racing against on 2 wheels.
Yeah, Didier Derrick has done a lot of car racing since, mainly in Belgium. I believe he's won the Belgian Touring Car Championship. Now look at the flames coming out of the 62 Star Aviation car. That's a Canadian-run car of John Morton, John Graham and Harold Groves. Harold Groves, a very experienced man. He's the other side of 50 now, but he's had some big wins on his resume in the past.
I got to drive with Harold here for BMW in 1976. We had a great run into, I think, 10th in the GT. I mean, 10th overall, 3rd or 4th, something like that in GT for Alpina. And he was the most terrific co-driver you could imagine. Absolutely steady, no personality, up or down, just stayed steady for 24 hours.
Out of the race car, I think he's had a bit of a checkered life.
We won't get into that.
Oh, no, we better not.
Got a good look at the 12th place car at this point, the number 31 Nissan, which is right now 6+ laps at this stage, almost 7 laps back. But nonetheless, when you take a look at the effort that they're putting together and the amount of time left, having a very solid run indeed. Starting to launch up the Mulsanne, the Chryslers, well, one of them remains parked. Welcome again, everybody, and as you can see, the light quickly fading from the sky, and as we take a look at the racetrack, doesn't seem to affect the crowd much here. They're settling in. They want to watch some of these cars doing their thing here late into the night, but boy, the headlights starting to beam very brightly. They're becoming a crucial part of this.
Mind you, it's almost 10 o'clock here at night, and there's still ambient light, plenty of it for just walking around. Much of the crowd, as you say, is walking to the beer halls and the places to eat, up toward the S's for the amusement park up there.
Fairground.
The fairground.
Some pretty lewd sights there, you know. It's one of the few places anywhere left in Europe where they have what I would call freak shows. It's absolutely weird.
Now, when we're off the air, is that where you're headed, Andrew? Myself, I'm going to bed.
Absolutely not, sir.
He seems to be an expert on all these strange.
And he'll try and convince us it's all from rumor that he picks us.
Yeah.
Second, third hand.
The other thing, Sam, is out there, there's great parks of things like Caterham 7s. All the big car clubs from Britain, the guys that own TVRs, they all come every year and they all assemble together in the same place and they have a great party and they talk about their cars. You have groups of Cobras. There's lots of Cobras always come, and GT40s even, old D-types, Jaguar D-types that used to race it. You see 5 or 6 of them together. It is just all part of this whole festival atmosphere.
But will you ever see a Nissan like this one there? I mean, that's the only trouble with a rural situation that produces cars like this, because no, you won't, because you can't drive this on the road.
Well, no. and the ACO has owned up to that. That's the interesting development.
In the 1950s, of course, when Jaguar dominated this race with the fabulous D-type, one of my all-time favourite race cars, you know, with the fin on the back.
The fin.
From Coventry, the factory in England, they used to drive the cars on the road to the racetrack, the actual race cars.
Yeah, Mike Hawthorne winning in 1955, of course, the year of the great tragedy right here on the straightaway, but the D-type went on to win in the hands of Hawthorne and Ivor Buell.
A couple of the Nissans, by the way, are in. The number 31 entry, that's the car that was running in 12th. and the number 32 that was in 7th place has stopped and gone back out on track. And look at that, how close they get. As soon as they get done releasing the fueling couplings, they're that close and ready to go to get these cars changing.
Yeah, look at the front of that car. He's rubbed it against another wheel. Look, that shows how close the action is.
A bit of a scuff there, no question. Looks like they are at least giving a serious look to the brakes. Again, they can very quickly reach in and measure the brake wear and determine whether they need to make a change or whether they can get another 12 laps or so out of it.
Yeah, of course, there are problems with these brakes. Obviously, the metal brakes last longer.
And Andrew, you were talking about the D-Type being one of your favorite cars on the way back to the hotel yesterday. There was a D-Type Jag driving down the street. They still drive him around. That was a great sight to see.
Well, also, the Bentleys that raced here in the 1920s, I saw one yesterday looking out of the restaurant where I was, just drove straight past.
Well, they were, after all, meant to be used and driven. I think that is wonderful to see, one of the great things about being here. Nissan making its way back out on track, and we will take the opportunity here for a quick break. We'll be back with more action at Le Mans in just a minute. Welcome back, and as we were just talking about, the things that can be done on the infield as night falls, as you put it, Sam, in the open, the magic of the night is pretty intense here. For those perhaps younger than us and maybe with stronger stomachs, there's a lot of fun that can be had over in the carnival.
Yeah, I don't see any shots there of Gorilla Woman. I believe she's one of the specials out there.
That place is going to be absolutely packed later. This is the leading Viper. I mean, remember, on track, there is still a lot of work for the crews to conduct. This is number 53, the leading Viper, Calvin.
Well, the American David Donohue brought the car in the lead. He's turned over to Justin Bell. These two guys obviously have very famous fathers in motorsport. Obviously, Justin's dad, 5-time winner Derek Bell. And looks like a routine stop. This is the one car on this team that doesn't seem to have suffered any problems so far. Obviously running very strong, but it's still in a battle with that number 64, 911. Justin fires it up, the lights are on, and he's out of here. And we'll try and catch up with David Donohue in a few minutes.
And Calvin, we noticed, you could see the different glow of those headlights. It is a very amber lens, and I was talking to David Donohue yesterday, and he mentioned, he said, you know, Hella developed these great lights for us. They're superb, but he said, we have to run these amber lenses, and it really deadens the light compared to if we run a clear lens. And he said, sometimes we're finding it, certainly David was, a little disconcerting and uncomfortable the first few times he'd hammer into a corner at 190 miles an hour.
After all, the Viper is just about as fast at top end as any of the other cars. I mean, he gives away about 8 miles an hour, 10 at the most, and to deprive them of full illumination seems a little bit dangerous.
A lot of work going on in the Nissan pit, Davy Jones.
Yes, so the number 33 Nissan, they came in, it looks like they had planned a front disc and pad change, and they're having a bit of a problem with the left front. This whole procedure, it's amazing, but they can do it in 40 seconds.
If everything goes right.
Right. Now they seem to have it on.
Did that look secure to you?
I guess they must just fit onto pegs.
Yeah.
Well, they did, but when they're having a bit of a problem, I noticed the other guys on the other corners, they were checking the CV joints underneath, and they were checking the bearings on the right front tire and so on. So they're making use of the time, although that one corner became a bit of a problem, they still push on with other areas of the car.
It almost appears, Davey, when that Nissan leaves the pits, that they're using the rev limiter as a pit speed limiter. Second person banging against the limiter, and no, it's below. Now, we understand that David Donohue, recently out of the Viper, is standing by with Calvin.
Well, David just debriefed with his engineer and spoke to Hugh, the team manager. How's things out there, David?
The track is very good. For a couple of laps, it felt like it got a little greasy. I radioed in that maybe we shouldn't go a third stint on the same set of tires, but the Michelin's suddenly came back, and everything's been fine so far.
Obviously, you want to try and not do a tire change. The fact that it has to happen after the fueling cost you a lot of seconds in the pits. You said yesterday probably 2 stints, but you actually stretched it to 3, you're saying?
Justin went out on third stint tires his last time out, and towards the end he said maybe not again. So
What is your, I mean, obviously you're up in the booth earlier, gave some feedback to the guys up there on your impressions. Now it's nightfall. Things change here at Le Mans. How is the car out there at night? Can you see well? What's the visibility like?
Well, the difficulty is the smaller sports cars and prototypes. You can't see them if they don't have their lights on, and a lot of them aren't, if you notice, aren't running with their lights on. You know, the one Riley and Scott in the field is one in particular, but I was able to see them. The flaggers are doing a great job. They got flags like 6 feet square. It's amazing. But the track, you know, it's still pretty light out, so when it gets truly nightfall and the lights on the car all you got, that's when a true testimony will be.
Sam Posey said that when he first started doing these events as a young driver, you know, he couldn't sleep. He was too excited. What do you anticipate tonight? You're going to try and get some nap time, or are you going to wait up and try and wait for your next stint?
I feel pretty relaxed. I'm not really nervous to get in the car. It drives so well. I can't say that for the last time I was in it, but the engineers at Chrysler and Orica have done a great job, and the car's just very friendly right now. So getting in it and driving the pace we want to drive is... it's kind of like going to church in the morning. Well, maybe not quite, but you know what I mean.
Okay, well, great job out there, David. Great to talk to you.
Thank you. There's one thing I want to say. It's my son's 6th-month birthday, so happy birthday, Mark, and hi, Jody.
Okay, hopefully they're watching back home.
For sure they are.
Well, and you noticed his son's name. He said, happy birthday, Mark, obviously named for his father, the legend. Great story having young David Donohue racing here at Le Mans. We'll be back, and of course we'll be following that as the race unfolds. We are just now at the 1/3 mark.
Speed Vision's coverage of the 24 Hours of Le Mans is brought to you by Porsche, who wish to remind you there is no substitute, and Michelin, celebrating 100 years of innovation because so much is riding on your tires.
Welcome back, and when you've been watching a great motor race like this, at some point maybe you need to get the frustrations out or get some idea of what it's all about, and they do provide that here. Now, that's an interesting story developing. That's the number 40 McLaren BMW. Calvin.
Bill Auberlen is behind the wheel, Greg, and he's taken over. I think it was Tim Sugden who jumped out. Looked like a routine stop, fuel, new set of Pirellis, and he's on his way.
Now, this is the car, I believe, Andrew, that in the BPR, I'm not sure exactly what the new name of it is, the GTR series or whatever, has been a front runner.
No, not the case. That's been running in the British Privilege Insurance GT Championship. It's a very competitive championship. It's got 3 listed Jaguars in it. It's got a couple of the customer Porsches, the GT1s, and it's got that McLaren, which has been winning races. Tim Sugden's a guy that's been around quite a long time. Was driving for BMW as a touring car racer, and then dropped back into Vento, Volkswagen one-mate racing, has come back up because Steve O'Rourke suddenly spotted him as a talent. They won the Privilege Insurance GT Championship last year in a GT2 car, and as you see, it's got the EMI sponsorship, and O'Rourke is just a wonderful character. And Tim Sugden is a very forthright young man. I think maybe Calvin should catch up with him a bit later, because I'm sure he'll have plenty to say.
All right, the number 13 machine, that is the Courage is in. Calvin?
Yes, it is. It's going to be a driver change, and I'm not sure who's getting out. We'll get to that in a moment. But meanwhile, very strange here. The guy actually leads him into his pits, runs backwards to lead the car in. I think it was Belloc behind the wheel, and I think it may be Didier Cortez getting in. We saw Goossens driving the car earlier, so I think that's the lineup in this machine. But looks routine. This car is leading the prototype category by just a few seconds, so they're probably going to lose the lead there in this round of fuel stops. And there seems to be a problem with the mirrors again. They had to tighten them up on the last stop, creating a lot of problems, I'm sure. At night you get kind of weird lights from around the circuit when those things are moving around in different directions, and that's very distracting for the drivers, obviously, if they think they've got one of those faster GT cars coming up on them. But they got the fuel in, they're now putting the Michelin's on, and hopefully they'll be underway shortly.
Calvin, that margin was 20 seconds, Andrew.
Yeah, just to confirm, it is Kotas that's in the car. It's his 3rd race with Courage, and he finished actually 4th in 1997.
Remarkable. I mean, that mirror doesn't seem to be terribly adjustable, and it seems to be able to move awfully easily.
The other one's gone, by the way.
One is gone there, and it looks as if the remaining one is on such a flexible stalk. I can't imagine that it would be much good with the car at speed. They appear to be trying to clumsily triangulate the bottom. No, that's just holding a clip down on the windscreen.
And you saw that little post, that was actually a radio antenna as well. So that's how they're doing the communication to the pits at this track. The car now back and underway and making its way onto the track. The headlights come on.
Yeah, nice to see them get out the good old gaffer tape.
Yeah. Racer's tape.
One thing I did notice a moment ago, which I think is good news, the Panos made a clean getaway. They'd had a lot of problem getting that started. On their last stop, they had no problem. Got it cranked right up and left.
Just to go back to that McLaren story, that car is still running in 13th place, that number 40 car that Bill Oberon's now driving.
What's the old, well, see, the Toyota is in at this point as well. And looks like a routine stop, going to go after tires on this machine. You were talking about gaffer's tape. I remember in the old days it was, you could get through anything in racing with gaffer's tape and baling wire. Nowadays it's gaffer tape and zip fasteners, I think. That's the only step up.
Right, there's one of the Chamberlain Vipers coming in. There's an American driving that, actually. We haven't spoken to him yet, Matt Turner. He's quite a young guy. He started racing with Chamberlain this year.
28th spot is the position they were in at the time of the pit stop. There is one of the Kremer cars. Haven't talked much about that machine either.
No, that's basically running at the back of the sports prototype field, and that's the one that's being actually sponsored and driven by Rocky Augusta and Almo Capelli. Rocky Augusta is part of the Augusta helicopter and motorcycle family, and they've run at Le Mans a number of times before with the Callaway Corvettes, but now they've got into that car, and they're doing a pretty good job there. It's one of the older Cougars.
Almo Capelli made a lot of friends and quite a few fans with his appearance with the Callaway cars in the States, and of course we missed the Callaway entry this year. I talked to Reeves Callaway the other day, and he hopes very much, plans to be back next year, and we look forward to that.
Well, 2 years past, I believe, Almo Capelli won the World Challenge,
right?
The T1 Championship.
Yeah. So
was a very effective driver. There is the ongoing pit stop for the number 56 Viper, and there is that glorious shot. I mean, the headlights in full ablaze at this stage.
It is just magic here, and it's a magic evening too. A little light breeze stirring the flags along the top of the grandstands, but it's still hot, and the carnival's beginning to get hot. If you gentlemen don't mind a little esoteric thought, but this is absolutely true. Back in the 70s, they had a big Ferris wheel close to the track, and very late at night when I was exhausted, I had the funny sense that the Ferris wheel was geared to the movement of the cars around the track. They seemed to mesh like a differential gear, and it was a very strange thing to think that I was sort of taking part in powering the Ferris wheel, or maybe it was the other way around. You get a little bit crazy driving this race.
There you see the world feed graphic, but you know, to me that makes sense because drivers so often talk about you get into a rhythm, and if you can find that rhythm,
yeah,
I mean there is very much that sensation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can also feel as if you're moving around a tethered point at the center of the track. I think that's less true these days with all the chicanes, but in the old days when you just ripped around this much simpler track, you get that feeling that it was all like a giant centrifuge.
The battle continuing, by the way, in GT2. You just saw a glimpse of the number 53 Viper. 6 seconds is all they lead by at this stage. We'll be back with more as the 28 Toyota ducks into the pits. Welcome back. There's a little bit more of a view of what's going on in the carnival. You'll notice the motorcycle spinning in the middle. I think the model on top was the model for the paint job, and the one Porsche we've been alluding to and getting too specific about.
Yeah, just tell you one thing about that paint job. We won't talk about the outside. Inside, painted on the back, underneath the rear window, is a sleeping cat.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah. One of the Panos has run into serious problems. Now the 44 car, and that's the one. I mean, if there's a silver lining to the dark cloud of the problem there, it's the car that has had problems and not the one running in ninth. Davey, what's going on?
Well, they just seem to pull it back into the garage. Again, they're looking under the back end of the car.
Yeah, the 45 car is actually in ninth place, but this one obviously having troubles with the Dams one.
Now they're pulling the back of the car. Now remember, this is a front engine. It's truly a mid-engine car, but the engine is in the front. So when they pull that rear bodywork off, it's not necessarily an engine problem. However, it could be a transaxle problem, a driveline problem of some sort they're looking at.
You know, we've talked about how loud they are. I really feel for the drivers who drive the Panos. You can do your hearing some permanent damage driving these cars with the exhaust that come out right underneath the where the driver sits, no matter how good your earplugs are.
And you can't really block off all the sound because you've got to be able to listen to the radio. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. Animated discussion going on explaining just what the problem is.
Yeah, Christophe Tinsu there is just discussing it. Hasn't taken his helmet off. 28-year-old driver from the French town of Orléans.
Obviously hoping to maybe be able to hop back behind the wheel and get out and underway once again. Trying to explain what's going on, at least perhaps get a handle for it at this
stage. A little chaotic in there, don't you think, Greg?
That certainly appears to be.
Yeah, it's another guy that's raced in America in Indy Lights, Tinsu.
Yes, he has. He's had a fair amount of success there as well. Yeah, they're looking at about every corner of this car. They're working on the back, working on that left front.
Yeah, at 97, he was third in Three Rivers and fourth in Portland, fifth in Toronto, sixth in Laguna Seca.
Now they're getting ushered over to the other side. Oh, they're going to pull the front body work off the car as well. So it seems to be a rather deep-seated, deep-rooted problem at this point.
Yeah, when they pull that off, you'll see a beautiful chassis designed by the Reynard people, who obviously build all those Indy cars, or I should say champ cars these days. And there the bodywork's coming off. It does handle absolutely superbly, this car, but they're going to work on the front there.
Well, Davey just radioed in that it might be a gearbox problem, so he's going to stay and keep an eye on that. The number 8 Porsche, currently now leading in the Le Mans prototype class, has just completed a stop and is back out as well. And it now is leading the number 13 Courage by some almost 2 minutes. But of course, the Courage may yet have not stopped. So that's going to change once the Courage comes by. That'll all cycle through. But, well, see, now that's what we were talking about, measuring the brake wear at this point, and being able to do that can give you a real leg up.
Yeah, but that's something that's just happening. You see, I mean, everyone's doing routine chores right at the moment while they really attack whatever it is that's actually wrong. They are getting a nice bit of work done in there. It's great that they are allowed these days to push the cars back into the garages. It's much safer to work in there for the mechanics, which I think is a big plus. And of course, the light is better.
And as we watch, well, actually, we're continuing to look at the work going on the Panos, but I understand Calvin is standing by with Michel Ligonnet, who is leading in the GT2 category. Calvin?
And Michel, stall, I understand. And you ran straight by and then you pulled in someone else's.
Sorry for that. I think because dressed with black overalls, I don't see them in the night. And maybe I was a bit too tired, so I overshoot the first time, and second time, to be safe, I stopped before. It's fine and the car is running fine. I was second.
You were first when you came in. We're losing the signal here a little bit. We'll try and continue, Michel, but you were first when you came in. I think you may have lost the lead in the pits, but obviously the car is running strong, and one of the Vipers continues to run. The others have hit trouble.
So there is only one Viper in red?
There's 2 still running, but the other one has had problems, so you're just left with the number 51, I believe. Okay, thanks, Michel.
And as we watch that, the number 55 Viper makes its way into the pits. That car currently running in third, and they are running also in order on the track. 21st position is the number 53 Viper. Ligonnet's car, the Rook Porsche, runs 22nd, and 23rd is the number 55 Viper, and it is in the pits right at this moment and getting serviced as we watch on the screen. Going to be a driver's change conducted in that car as well, and it will be back out, and looks as though they are definitely going to go after the tires on that machine. So we are watching for it. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But we were obviously watching what was going on with the number 44 Panos. There it is, still being worked on, and joining us right now in the booth is Don Panos. And Don, obviously this is not the kind of image you would like to see, but nonetheless, the 45 entry up in the top 10, running very well.
Right, it's right now at 9th place, and looks like it's doing pretty good. We had some trouble with the gear shifter on this car today. They've had to work on it twice. But they keep getting it back out, and it keeps running. You know, we're at 9th place with the 45 car. Last year it took us 16 hours to get to ninth place.
You've had some troubles with the cars getting them started. What's that been?
Now, on this particular car, it's the starter gear has been shearing. So, you know, you can get everything else right, and it can be a little thing like a couple of gear teeth, and you have a lot of trouble.
Dom, we've been talking about the festival atmosphere here, and it's something you want to recreate in Petit Le Mans. Just talk to us about what's going to happen there at Road Atlanta in October.
Right. Well, first of all, I don't think we could ever recreate the festive attitude and you know, and the impressions that people get at Le Mans. This is 75 years of building and work and building a tradition. I think for the States, we might throw a little American ease at it, you know, a fashion show, a beauty pageant, celebrity race, some bands and the teams lining up and getting into the auditoriums. And the important thing, you know, the show is great to enthuse the people, but as I said in a press conference yesterday, the fans today are, they're not mushrooms, you know, you can't keep them in the dark and feed them a lot of fertilizer. They now, with internet and communications, they know what's going on in the sport, and I think we need to create a show for these people to enjoy and see the best cars.
We just saw on the screen there the show that these cars are, the flames, the brakes are light. It's just wonderful, isn't it?
Exactly, and the brakes coming around the corners, the way they light up. But, you know, last year at Laguna Seca, 60,000 people came to see these cars.
Look at that shot just there. Yeah. Now you see the orange underneath the car. That's the turbochargers glowing. That's a fantastic sight.
Oh, it's fantastic, and we want to show that at Petit Le Mans.
You may not be able to recreate or even want to recreate Le Mans, but you can certainly emulate it. And
yes.
You made the announcement of the American Le Mans Series.
Exactly.
And that sounds like that's exactly what you're trying to do. At least capture some of the excitement, Americanize it if that's the name for it, but bring it to the States.
Exactly. Kind of the difference between NFL and soccer, you know, the halftime show is important, and the cheerleaders or whatever else goes with it. But you have to have good teams or you have to have good cars, and that's what we're trying to do.
Let's get back real quickly to this race. Just one quick question. We were referring earlier to the Davids and the Goliaths, and you in a way are a David going up against the major factories, but one sense is that you and your team enjoys that kind of challenge.
Yeah, we do. We are the American team here, I guess, and we kind of consider ourselves the Rocky story. The guys are all enthused, and they're performing well. And it is a challenge to compete with the likes of the people who are leading this race, the Toyotas and the Porsches and the Nissans. But, you know, you never have a chance unless you compete, and we're trying to compete, and we will do the best we can. By the way, could I just say something back home? Danny couldn't make it here, but at Road Atlanta, there's a big show, and all the people are watching, a big party for Speed Vision. And also, I'd like to pass on my best to Roger Warner, the guy who conceived and started Speed Vision. He did a great thing for motor racing.
He truly has. He has worked hand in hand in doing that, as have you, doing a nice thing for racing. We're going to step away for a moment, but look at the fun. There it is, the big drop. That's kind of like going over the rise down into the Mulsanne hairpin, isn't it? We'll be right back.
Thank you, gentlemen. All part. We'd be...
Welcome back once again to Le Mans, and look at the view that we have, that you have, of this just marvelous facility as dark is definitely settling in around this facility. What a great shot. It is time, of course, for the Sony PlayStation Race Reset. First of all, the elapsed time of this event, 8 hours and 20 minutes of 24 as the time that has elapsed thus far. Our class leaders, the Toyota remains at the 4. Leading in the Le Mans prototype class is the number 8. That is one of the Yost Porsches, running very strongly indeed, and leading in the GT2 division, the number 53 Viper. They are a few laps back, of course. However, they are having a very good run. Now, the storylines here that we want to take a look at is Toyota running very strong at the front. It has been very consistent, although Porsche has been stalking, and now we've had a recent pit stop by the number 29 Toyota, and guess what? Remember when the Porsche was mirroring that effort? Well, they got a quicker stop. They are out, and the number 25 Porsche, the first time in a long time, has taken the lead. So a very remarkable effort by the Porsche equipped, doing what they do best.
I just wonder if there's a problem with the number 29 car. It has slipped quite a bit back. Obviously, it's more difficult to see in the dark what's happening out there, but I think maybe we can get a pit reporter down there to find out. We still have Don Panos with us, and Don, we saw in our pre-qualifying show some great images of your hybrid car out there on the airport the first time it ran. Speed Vision was there to see it. Absolutely wonderful shots of that car, and that could be the future, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, if you can make a car that can perform well and still be environmentally friendly, we think the market will like it, and the best way to prove that is at Le Mans or in racing. And what happened to us there was actually the motor and the technology is working too good, because we put the qualifiers on, we'd break the shaft on the electric motor. We've corrected that. We expected to race early August, and we'll have it at the Petit Le Mans in October 11th and 10th.
And of course, in that press conference, one of the things that the ACO did was very much encourage that type of innovative thinking and design. Now, quickly, you had talked about the American Le Mans series that was being created, and of course, in that press conference, there was a lot of reaction to that. Here's some of it.
Fantastic news. His initiative, I'm sure, will help accelerate the whole process now of getting sports car racing back on track in America, and given us a huge incentive to get after this series. And obviously we're sanctioning, as you know, at the Petit Le Mans in October, and obviously we want to carry that forward into 99. So we're terribly excited.
I think that's very exciting, and hopefully that will unite the racing family in the United States, and give Porsche and the other manufacturers who are interested in it a place to run in the United States, especially since we can use the same rules what Le Mans has in 1999.
I believe in that Field of Dreams movie. You know, if you will build it, they will come, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
At this point, do you think there's a real possibility that one of the existing sanctioning bodies will move in with you?
Well, I think my position about that's been very clear. I don't choose either one. I just think they should get together. I've given reasonable time, encourage them to do that. If they can't, then we will simply say, look, to any sanctioning body, come and make us a proposal, and we'll listen. Yeah. But it should be, for sports car racing, it should be unified.
Can I just interject, Dan? The 29 car has now slipped to third place. I am sure that leading Toyota has a problem, so maybe we can find out about that. And now we have Porsche first and second.
It has slipped to third at the margin of 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so something is developing. There is no question. And down we saw the number 44 car. They're continuing to work on it. Hopefully they'll be able to get that backing out and running for you in short order.
Yeah, Calvin's done such an outstanding job in the pits there, and Davey, I'm sure they're going to be on top of that story with that 29 car.
Boy, some of the imagery here is absolutely stunning as they work through. That was the Ford chicane onto the front straight. Look at that. I mean, that is what Le Mans is all about. That is in many ways what sports car racing is, and certainly can be all about. Glorious.
Right, and we're going to try and do our share of that in the States, and we're inviting all the teams out there to come and participate in the Petit Le Mans and Le Mans Series next year, and we know that the U.S. fans will support it because they really want to see high-tech sports car racing.
Will you race in the night there in that race?
Yep, at the Petit Le Mans there will be at least 2 hours of dark racing.
Right.
Let's jump down quickly to Calvin, who has an update on the problems perhaps being experienced by the number 29 Toyota.
Well, the Toyota crew look on, but actually the car is not slowing on the track. They had a slow pit stop in as much as they had to do a pad and disc change. They obviously lost quite a bit of time. That typically takes about 3 or 4 minutes, so that's probably why he lost the space on the track. But the engineer is, in fact, a female engineer. I'm not sure of her name. She said no problems with the car. The car's running fine, and Jeff is just back out there running at his own pace.
And we're obviously some intense activity going on in the number 25 Porsche pit, the current leader. And it has a lap in hand now over the number 26 team car. And they've completed the stop, and we believe it is Bob Wallach who has jumped behind the wheel of that car. Once again, this is his 50th 24-hour race, if you include the 24 hours of Spa and the 24 hours of Daytona. He's won 9 of them. Never has it been the 24 hours of Le Mans. I'm sure in his 50th try at a 24-hour race, he'd like to finally bring that one home.
Don, as your team matures, do you see any conflict of interest between being a team owner and organizing this series?
No, I think people that have followed what I've been saying and what we've been doing, we got into GT1. We figured we had a 3-year window. As you know, Danny builds cars, and we're building the Esperante. We will start concentrating to build a nice GT2 car out of what we've learned from this. of course with aluminum technology and chassis, but not carbon fiber. And I really am not on any board. The way the Le Mans series is set up, it's a steward and a scrutineer picked by us, not by the sanctioning body. And the final decision is Alain Berthaud from here to Milan on parity. So there's no chance that anybody can screw around with the rules or get caught up in a special agenda or special interest.
Excellent. Well, Don, thank you very much for stopping up here, and thank you very much for the exciting news of this weekend that you put together. We're going to step away from Le Mans for just a moment, but believe me, we're going to come right back. Please do the same. As the cars go screaming by, perhaps on the Mulsanne Straight, you can look up. That's your view. This is truly a very special place. Welcome back, everybody. And the action continuing to be intense on the track, as nice as the views are above it right now. Boy, look at the clarity. Look at the crater there. I mean, you can see the impact, the spray, just remarkable.
It's not made of cheese after all.
No, it's for real.
Up front
on the track as well, Andrew.
Yeah, up there at the front now, the two Porsches, that 29 car, the Toyota has dropped to a third place, of course, after that long brake change that we heard about. And then in fourth place, still going strong, you know, we must not forget those Nissans. That's the 30 car driven by John Nielsen from Denmark, Frank Lagorce, who comes from France, and Michael Krum from Germany, I should say, who represents Toyota out in Japan normally. A very strong trio, so we have to still watch for Nissan. Maybe there's still the race will come to them. And in fifth place, that Courage, the number 13 car. Lucky for some, that's up in fifth place.
Boy, you hate to see the crowd take off. You know, there's almost nobody here, is there? Look at the size of that crowd right now. And there's some intense discussion going on inside the Toyota Motorsports garage. And that, I think, is a marvelous shot. I mean, this is Le Mans at night, the pits, where all of the work is done.
Looks like the embers of a giant...
This
is so beautiful.
Smoldering, waiting
Maybe
for more.
Don Panos should import the air from France and about 200,000 Frenchmen. Maybe that's the best start.
That could very well be. I like your comment about embers. I mean, it's almost it's smoldering, waiting for something to flare up as they come rocketing into the pits to not to go to work.
Let's hope it doesn't. I hope it stays in the realm of metaphor.
It would truly mesmerizing. Though is a good way. I mean. And boy, they play it up. They use the light here very nicely as well to make it something special.
Yes, they certainly do. This is a very nice part of France, actually. It's western France. Le Mans is a large town, but it's mainly built on agriculture. And you don't have to go far out of the town. And even around the racetrack, you see cows in the fields. And it is really such a beautiful place.
One thing that I observed, it's been a long time since I've been back to Europe, and driving from Paris out to Le Mans, going by some of these fields. You know, it could be a farm field in Wisconsin, and then you'd go by the farmhouse and the barn that were built, say, 400 years ago. I mean, it is truly beautiful. Look at that's the rear brakes lighting up, and then the explosion of gas out the back of the cars. It's truly brilliant.
At night, you get a sense for how hot the cars really are when they're out there. I mean, you know, when the cars make their pit stop and suddenly the airflow is not going over them, and you see the men working on them, it's intensely hot, not just the parts, but the whole emanation of heat from the car.
Sam, we just saw shots there from Tetra Rouge. Those were the trees that used to be painted white that you remember.
Right, vividly. They looked like shark's teeth looming out of the night at you. And boy, they would have bitten you too if you'd hit them, because the exit to Tetra Rouge is in the area of 110 to 120 miles an hour.
Hopefully, again, we can get a couple shots of the cars leaving Tetra Rouge and get a look at that on the back end, because not only the turbos on the cars that are running them, but on the V12s, you can see at the back the mufflers are glowing absolutely red hot. A very excellent shot. Let's check in. Panos problems are still evolving, and Davey is there.
Yes, the number 44 Panos, it's well down, but as Don Panos said earlier, you know, the crew is excited, they're charged up, and they just don't give up. Apparently, they had lost fourth gear and they just decided to change the whole stack, all the gear ratios in the gearbox. So they rolled the car back into the garage, and while they were doing that, they changed the front discs, the front pads. They did everything that they needed to do to the car, so it's like a brand new car when he goes out. They got Christian Tissue back into the car, and they're going to be ready to fire it up and drive off in just a couple of minutes here and get back into the race.
Davey, I'm wondering, did they spend some time down there with a bucket of water and a sponge? That car is just gleaming now.
You know, they've had enough time, and they've had enough crew guys, and you know, I think they waxed it while it was in here as well.
It certainly looks like it. That car is going to look marvelous when it comes back out and gets back into the fray here. And we watch the intense work by the timing and scoring crew. That is Panos alone. It's that involved. We hope you're enjoying our coverage of the 24 Hours of Le Mans and hope you'll stay with us. We're on until 5 p.m. Eastern today, but if you missed any of the action earlier, from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern, we'll replay the best action of the day. Then again, for those of you on the West Coast, from 8 to 11 Pacific time. Then we'll come back for a live hour-long update from 2 to 3 a.m. Eastern. The sun will be coming up. That means the finish will be in sight at that time. Continuing coverage of Speed Weekend International. It's marvelous, and it's only on Speed Vision.
You know, as we see the Panos come out, the Toyota number 29 that dropped out of the lead with what was supposed to be a routine change of parts is nonetheless lapping almost 7 or 8 seconds slower than it was before that pit stop. So I still raise a question about its total health.
All right, the Momo Ferrari is in the pits. Calvin, it looks like they've got big change.
Giampiero Moretti brought it in, and it's so spectacular, guys, when they bring these cars in, the flames burst out of the exhaust as they blip the throttle as he comes in. The reason they're changing the nose, he's not been off, but one of the headlights has failed, and the quickest way of fixing it, of course, is just to plug in a new nose. Got new headlamps. Typically, the team spend a bit of time setting all the nose cones up so they actually point in the right direction, of course. Very important to get good visibility at these speeds around here. Experienced, and he's going to do another stint, and I think it may be Taze will get in behind. A little bit of trouble. This is taking a little bit longer than it should. A little bit of trouble getting this nose fitted, and looks like it's basically in position right now, and now they'll work on getting all the clips done up. And what a story this would be if these guys could try and score success here and get the Triple Crown, and they're firing it up, and he's down. Oh, and actually took one of the crew guys with him. They got to wait. One of the fasteners not done up. He actually took the crew guy down with him on the right front corner. He's done. Now they're working on the left front, and Giampiero is out of here.
What a difference than the change of the nose on the BMW earlier. That all-new BMW, which took at least 2 minutes to change the nose on. It was damaged, of course. This one wasn't, but still in all, here's an older car where they've done that change over and over again. It worked very well.
And as we take a look at the field summary right now, keep in mind, you look in the 10th position, that is the number 3. Doesn't run that number in the States, but over here, that's the number. It is only 5 laps back. That's a lot. But again, we've got almost 2/3 of the race yet remaining, so things can change in a hurry. We've seen it here. That car not out of it. Leading now by virtue of that long stop by the number 29 Toyota is the 2-car Porsche GT1 team, number 25, a lap up over its team car. Leading again in the LMP, the prototype division, is the number 13 Courage at this point, and continuing its assault on victory in GT2, the number 53 Chrysler Viper. What a great story that would be for Chrysler if it holds on.
Yeah, the fastest cars out there at the moment are the 2 Toyotas, which had problems. They're lapping on the 3:47 mark. Now remember, in the light they were doing 3:45s. It's absolutely amazing to me they can go so quick in the dark.
You lose very little time around here, Andrew, as you know, through all the years in the dark. And in fact, in the old days, when you power counted for so much down the Mulsanne, you might actually go faster at night as the motor leaned out a little bit, ran better.
That is a look at the 6th place, number 32 Nissan. In the pits, a quick stop, the lights are on, it is out. And that team continues to be a factor right near the front. We'll be back as you watch the Momo car drop down and surprise a crew member right there. Welcome back to Le Mans, particularly to the garage of the Toyota number 29, the experience of the savvy race driver, Sam. You noticed that the lap times were not really what they should have been. It suddenly pulled in and went right into the garage. The engine cover came off, a serious problem.
Andrew noticed some smoke, too. The point is that they did 4 relatively slow laps by their standards after they made that supposedly routine stop. Now, Calvin's down there. Maybe he can get the story.
Well, I spoke Yeah, and she said there was no problem, obviously, with the cars, just a brake pad change that delayed them. But as you guys suspected, and right now they pulled it straight into the garage. The team went straight to work. It's like they knew the problem. They're actually working on the left half shaft coming out of the gearbox. So I'm not sure if the oil was actually coming from that area of the car or whether it's an internal engine problem, but they went straight to the half shaft coming off the gearbox. That's what they're working on right now. So maybe you had a failure in the drivetrain area right there. We'll give an update shortly.
Unbelievable development. If we had thought that brake pad change and everything was fairly routine, you would expect the teams to do one, two, a few of those. This is by no stretch routine.
I'll tell you, this ends it's the end of the beginning of this race. Phase one is over as of right now, which was the Toyota able to stay out front of the two Porsches. The Porsches have now assumed the lead, and Nissan, if this pit stop goes on much longer, will move up into third, and the battle will become one of Porsches versus Nissan instead of Porsches versus Toyota. But once again, of course, the commonality in all of this is the word Porsche. Here in their 50th anniversary, their first victory back here in 1970. They're gunning for their 16th, and right now they are running 1-2.
And of course, this is going to spell some good news, perhaps, for the number 45 Panos, which is back in ninth. It would, in fact, move up. I mean, as you said, this is going to certainly alter things drastically, but that's true. It is Nissan versus Porsche. It is whoever versus Panos versus Porsche at this stage. The Porsche juggernaut just continues to roll, and in sixth place is the number 8 entry, still in with a very strong hunt in the Le Mans prototype division. But good performance, I think, by the number 30 Nissan, right there in fourth. Very solid.
Yeah, but they are 3 laps plus a little bit back, so they're not in anything like an attack position. And we know, or we have heard, that Porsche has been running off of their pace. If I was a betting man at this point, even with the race just over a third finished, I'd be very apprehensive about betting against Porsche. Of course, the 2 GT1 cars, which were different cars, but still similar in many ways, both met grief last year in the morning of the second day, and anything can happen.
And right now, Davey is with the Nissan that currently is running in 12th.
Well, they're doing a routine pit stop. They're doing an extra driver change. Now they're putting in the car the gasoline at the moment. As soon as they finish putting the petrol in, then they're going to work on the tires. But they're in the midst of doing the driver change. Again, it seems like it's a routine pit stop.
What is the other rationale, Andrew, for not allowing the crew to touch the car to work on it, but allowing the drivers to do a driver's change while there's refueling?
I believe it's safety.
Okay.
Can you imagine? Look at how hot that disc is when it's pulled off. I mean, imagine those gloves. That has got to be in the 1,000-degree range.
Oh, they get very hot indeed. I mean, these carbon discs, I don't think they'll ever come to road cars. They just wear out so fast. But they do use them, you know, on the TGV. That's when it's running. I think they're on strike at the moment.
Well, yeah, here's France is having this great week of sporting events, and everybody's on strike, including Air France.
Let's go back to Calvin with the Toyota.
Well, right now, as you can see, we should have a camera angle on this. It's actually a gearbox problem. I wasn't sure of the layout of the gearbox in the rear end of this Toyota. It looks like they're replacing the whole set of gears now, and they take off the side cover of the gearbox, basically slide it all out, typically on a gearbox cylinder to come out the back end. This one actually goes inside. That's where they knew where they had to go. Obviously, Jeff Lees had told them, hey, we've got a gearbox problem. They went straight to the left rear corner of the car, pulled off the half shaft, pulled off the side plate of the gearbox. Looked like they got a new gear cluster going in, so it shouldn't be too long, but probably about another 10 minutes they may have this thing back together.
They are currently, well, they are still shown as only down a lap plus a bit, but that's going to change certainly the next time the leaders come by. Sammy, you're talking about those carbon brakes, that they run incredibly hot. You can see them glowing bright orange when they're braking, but isn't one of the features of the carbon brake is that when the calipers release, it dissipates the heat incredibly quickly as well.
It does, but I still wouldn't want to be the guy grabbing for one.
No, I'd want to have a solid glove sponsorship working for me at that point. Oh, look, they're already they're working on the rear tire there. You can see them moving that rear tire. They want to see what the differential, what the gears are doing at this stage. It's a fairly, look at that. They pulled out the entire cluster of gears.
You know what this is like? It's like watching an operation with all the blood all over the place. And now he's just pulled a heart out, right? And they're going to put that on some respirator or something, and then they're going to put a new one in. I mean, it's like open heart surgery right in front of us.
I don't think it's on a respirator. I think it's going in the trash can.
The circular respirator.
Over in the corner.
Well, they've already got the new one in, obviously, and they're just apparently they liked what it did. Is it looks like they're starting to button stuff up here.
Well, I'll tell you, this team has really earned my respect for whatever that's worth. I mean, they have not given up. They've kept throwing their cars back in the field when they could easily, and it's obvious from what we're watching here that their men have practiced this. Just because they've never run a race together as a team before doesn't mean that they haven't practiced all this kind of stuff before. It's very impressive.
And you know, Sam, you talk about they kept throwing the cars right back into it. We alluded to this before. The speed of the 28 car that Martin Brundle is the lead driver for, that has not dissipated at all once they got it fixed. And remember, a long time ago, the margin between the race leader, then the Team 29 car, and the 28 car was 10 laps. It's 10 laps. It's just that it's the Porsche leading now. That's got to be incredibly frustrating, not just for Martin and the drivers, but for the team to know the car is that quick and they can do nothing with it right now.
Yeah, but that's what makes some drivers grow old early. I mean, you just have to get the job done. You know, you're going to be out there maybe 12 hours or more driving in a lost cause, taking every chance in the book. But if you love racing, the point is it's just great to be behind the, I mean, we're sitting and saying the guy has no chance. The guy behind the wheel says, I'm driving my heart out. And then that's why you get in the game in the first place. And if you don't, you shouldn't be doing it.
That and those great shots of the Mulsanne, the first chicane there, is just absolutely stunning. We're looking at the Nissan down in the pit lane, and Davey, you're there.
Yes, again, this Nissan is just in for a normal routine pit stop. The drivers stayed in the car. They don't anticipate any front brake pad change. In fact, I don't even know if they're going to change tires this time. They have them. They have the tires here ready to go just in case, but they're certainly not getting ready to.
Obviously, in 1996, when you won, and other times, you've driven cars in the cool of the evening here. I would suspect most components on the car get a little bit of a break, including tires. Does that mean you can run a little longer on a set?
Well, but normally in the nighttime, you tend to run a much softer compound. You know, and this 33 Nissan, I mean, they're certainly trying something to, you know, to make their pit stops a lot shorter and just make some time up. I guess they're sitting sixth place overall. So we'll pass it up to Calvin. I believe he's in there with Terry Bootson at the moment.
Yeah, well, Terry's certainly a little subdued from the earlier interview that we had, and Terry, it seems like it's a gearbox. I believe Jeff was behind. The Crits easily went to work there on the left rear corner.
I think, well, went out, so I don't know exactly what happened. They have to take it apart. There's no way we can continue like this. So, hard luck.
What if we just pull you this way, Terry? Losing signal here. Thank you very much. How long does this typically take? I mean, the one thing about this racetrack, Terry, with all the miles of testing that you have done, certainly BMW and Mercedes, you can't replicate being here down these long straight airways with the speed, with the chicanes. You have to come in early.
Sure, there's no other test that you can do except being in the race here. We've been testing in many different places, but there's not one place in Europe where you can test. That's not represented. You come to Le Mans, it's always very different. It's a very difficult race. And the problems that we're having at the moment with this car are problems that we have never seen anywhere else. But you get this place to get it, something we learn for next year.
Okay, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Well, as you said, they're giving it a game effort, as is the Panos team. Look at that, lights are on, and the Visteon Panos is making its way out on track. That is the number 45 car, which is in the top 10, and solidly right now in that top 10, running just in front of the Geisse Ferrari.
Yes, also racing with the green Nissan we've seen. It's having a good battle with that. They're contesting that positions around 8th and 9th there, and I think it's going particularly well, the Panos.
working through the chicane that leads into and under the Dunlop Bridge. Then they drop down into the S's and head toward Terre Rouge. Take a look at the field summary once again. Your top 30 at this position, you see leading them all, the number 25 Porsche. That car has just been running like clockwork. The team car, number 26, only 35 seconds back, doing a very solid run. The Nissan now has moved to third, and running in the fourth spot now, the number 29 Toyota. It has fallen back, but if they can get it fixed fairly quickly, they've still got quite a bit of time over some of the efforts running behind them. We take a look at the leader in the prototype division, remains the number 8 Yost Run factory Porsche in 6th overall. And again in GT2, the Chrysler has looks like a lap and a half almost in hand over the number 64 Rook Racing Porsche. So that is your top 30 field summary right now, and Calvin is down as the Viper is in.
Number 53 is in. Justin Bell stays behind the wheel. Looks like another routine start. The number 53 car is the only one of this Orica team that really hasn't had any problems today. Obviously the Hugh Chamberlain run private Vipers are running well also, but Justin is now on the radio. You can see him gesturing with his hands. It looks like they may be having some gearbox problem. He's indicating that the shifting pattern, or maybe something's a little sticky in there. But this is not abnormal, but obviously there's a long way to go yet. We still have another 15 hours or so to go in this one, so you don't want to really be having any kind of problems with the thought of making it through the whole 24 hour. The 10-cylinder fires up, and he is out of the pits.
Yes, in fact, Justin led this race 3 years ago, driving one of those McLarens, in fact, with his father. And very unlucky, just near the end they had some gear shift problems, and they didn't win it. Of course, it would have been a great story for Derek to win it with his son.
Great story, and he may have taken, Justin perhaps, taken some solace in winning the FIA GT2 championship last year, but that's not Le Mans, and I know he would like to put with that one together. Look at the blasts of flame from the back of the Ferraris. That's Wayne Taylor's team as they dive into the second chicane on the Mulsanne, and you can see how dark it is, and you can see how the lights just light the sky on the pit straight here at Le Mans. We'll be back with more the last 5 minutes of our show. Just a minute.
Speed Vision's coverage of the 24 Hours of Le Mans has been brought to you by the new Dodge. It's about change. And the PlayStation Athletic Department. Food, shelter, sports, and a PlayStation. That's all we need.
Welcome back once again to Le Mans. We're just closing in on the 11 o'clock hour, but action in the pits, and it's a big one, Calvin.
Well, they've got the number 29 machine put back together. They pulled out. They have these little dollies to actually swing it around in the pit position. They're topping him up with fuel. So it looks like Thierry Butson's dismay may be over quickly. They could rejoin the fray. They should be still running in the top 6 or so. And they're obviously doing a great job here. They knew what to do. They were rehearsed on this change. They've obviously rehearsed that over the test days that they had. And I believe Davy Jones has an interview with one of the Porsche personnel.
Norberg Ziner, you're sitting at first and second. Porsche, everything going according to plan?
So far, it's going to plan right.
Yeah, so as we go into the night, no major problems with the cars. Everything is just going according to plan.
Yeah, it's absolutely normal. And so far, it's okay, but still, not even halftime.
Yes, thank you so much, and good luck through the night. You know, Porsche, they're just as they've been doing the past 2 years, here they are sitting in first and second, going into the night, and leading in the prototype division. So, you know, I think it's going to be a good night for the Porsche camp, and we look forward to tomorrow morning.
Davy, indeed, is going to be very strong, and the number 13 Courage is showing itself now in 4th, a good run. The number 29 Toyota we just watched come out and just watched go by. When it came out of the pit, showed in 7th place, 4 laps back. We need to wait for it to come by start-finish and get through the timing sequence again to see where it actually will slot in. But it is indeed good news. The car is at least back out. The question is, Sam, is that has that gear cluster, was that run in once before, do you think, or did they have to be very careful for a few laps and get that actually broken in?
Oh, I see what you mean. I never considered that. And the other question is, since it only did go 9 hours, and the other cars less than that with a very similar problem, will they continue to have that problem? In other words, will they have to run through a couple of more? And do they have the spares? Are they that deep in spare parts?
Well, prior to the race, the paddock gossip was that was the Achilles heel of the car, and there was even a suggestion they may run out of those parts.
Yeah. That's the problem, you know, and they're frantically trying to make up a set or two from what they've got, but if you're missing a crucial part, you may be out of business. What gets really tough is when the next car needs the part and you've only got one or two left, and the car that needs it is one of your cars that's running back. What do you do then? Do you pull that car out and wait for your front-running car to need the part, or do you just put it in the first car that needs it? That's a tough decision.
Strategy will come into play. A good look at James Weaver as he apparently is getting undone up. But let's take a look at our current standings here as we close in on the 11 o'clock hour. The leader remains the number 25 Porsche, a lap up on the team car, number 26. The 30 Nissan finds itself now in third. The Courage is now fourth, and leading in the Le Mans prototype class, that is the number 8 car, chasing it, currently second in that class. And very quickly here, let's check in once again with Davy Jones for some final thoughts. Boy, what a beautiful shot, Davy.
Well, I think, you know, as we go into the night, it's starting to get a lot cooler now. You know, you just get into the driver rhythm. You want to make it through the night and into tomorrow morning. So I think all the teams, you know, they're just going to continue the pace that they are, not try and put any pressure on anybody. Just preserve the car, baby it, and have the best thing they have more now to come fish.
Well, I think the story really was the attrition early on, Davey. We lost the Mercedes team completely. We lost the BMW team. The Toyota team have hit trouble, but as we could see there on that last pit stop, that number 29 machine, they knew what the problem was. They'd rehearsed it. The gearbox cluster went in very quickly, and they're back on track, and they'll be chasing down those Porsches throughout the night. They've got a great driver lineup. Brundle's car is strong. He was running 341s when he jumped out of that car, but they have a little bit too much ground to make up, I believe.
Calvin, you're right. They have the job in front of them, and they will certainly go after it. It is a big job. Weather really shouldn't be an issue. We're understanding that the weather's looking fairly nice, at least through the evening.
I think it's going to be a very fast night because I think it's going to be a very fine night.
It's going to be a very exciting night, no question. And Sam, as we take a look at that marvelous pit complex here that has seen its share of incredible action and then moments of simple solitude, it is a sight, is it not?
It certainly is. And I think one thing about the night that's coming up, remember how short it is. I mean, we're now just 5 hours from dawn here. I mean, we're very far to the north, and the sun will be coming back up just over the Mulsanne Strait in about 5 hours.
The Viper, the Panos, the action continues here. Of course, the question is, will Porsche, with its relentless attack here, will it prevail? We'll have to see, no question. Remember, we'll be back at 2 a.m. Eastern time with an hour update. Then we'll be back, of course, for the finish. We look forward to seeing you in 9 hours once we get there as cars go back out on track. This is some action from a little bit earlier, of course, and it is a superb effort here. It is going to be a lot of fun. We certainly hope to see you again in those 9 hours. And we will be bringing you that hour update, catching you up on all of the developments that have occurred while we are off the air. The fans, of course, that are here, they're going to be having an awful lot of fun in the infield. And one thing that we can assure you of, we've heard all of our pit reporters, we as well have said, that going into the night here at Le Mans, one thing you can be assured of, it will not go quietly. See you in 9 hours.